Reverse smiley. Obviously.
Welcome back to Boyson's Gone Wild. This is part 1 of our amazing trip to Kruger, where we spent 6 nights in one of South Africa's biggest reserves. And we're excited to show you all the amazing places we stayed at, as well as all the awesome things we saw. My sister Mariette and brother-in-law Henry are going to be with us on this one, and they made it all the more worthwhile. So before Jesse and I could even get the trip started, we had to take a grueling 20-hour bus drive from Plet all the way to Centurion. And we were very lucky to have Henry and Mariette with us, because they had done a lot of research and spoken to a lot of people as what you need to take to Kruger, what you need to leave behind. And as we will be driving ourselves from camp to camp, the food will have to stay nice and fresh while it's in the car. So we started working on getting the food ready. Well, I mean, they started getting the food ready. I did the important part of documenting all of it.
Yeah, he's going to go down the side. There's one.
And with a couple of last minute route calculations from Henry, we were pretty much almost ready to go. And the next morning we started on the trip, and it definitely kicked off with a little bit of drama on the N4.
Yeah, fire brigade.
Yeah, that's the fire's coming over.
Fires, ladies, like, yeah.
Ja, so dalk die aircon.
Elke keer no,
And after avoiding the fires on the N4, we could continue our 500-kilometer trip to our sleepover in Nelspruit, and then very early the next morning we were gonna drive into the park. And then we finally arrived at the Krokodilbrug entrance to Kruger, and we did some initial sightseeing at some of the animals that were in the river. And then after showing our bookings and permits at the gate, we finally entered Kruger National Park. Now, this was Jesse's first time in Kruger, and it was the first time that I can actually remember it, so I'm going to also treat it as my first time.
Yeah.
And initially you'll realize that a lot of the footage is definitely not National Geographic level, but yeah, I made a mistake, and a little bit more on that later. Ja, es ist Steenbok. Nee, das ist Steenbok definitief. So elephants and impala are probably the animals we saw the most of while we were in Kruger. And when I say we saw them a lot, I mean we really did see lots of them. But we still had lots of fun watching them interact at this little watering hole. And after a while we stopped for lunch at one of the spots where you're actually allowed to get out of your car. At this place there's bathrooms, there's a place to get food, and there's also just nice little picnic spots everywhere. It was quite busy. We went kind of just outside of school holidays, so it wasn't as busy as Kruger could get, but yeah, it was still relatively busy.
Because I'm not in focus.
But luckily for us, we had come prepared, and we started to do our little DIY sandwiches. Mariette was smart enough to have prepped all the meat beforehand, and all we had to do was just slap the ingredients together and eat. One negative thing about these picnic spots is that people had obviously been feeding the animals, so they do become a bit aggressive and start to harass you for food. I mean, even the birds start harassing you for food, then you know it's a real problem. But these little vervets are still pretty cute though. After lunch, we started slowly making our way to our first accommodation.
I need a few bits out.
Are you alive?
He's for sure alive. He would have flies or something.
Ja, zo flap.
Look at him, young, beautiful
Kijk eens vrouw.
One thing I learned early on was to not always be on the lookout for all the big animals, but also just try and stop and look at all the other smaller animals, birds and other things that you can see, because there can be really long stretches where you don't see anything that's really that interesting. So it's best to slow it down a little bit and enjoy the ride, because you never know, your next big sighting might be just around the corner.
Yeah.
And in this case it was definitely our first big sighting for the day, as we drove into a herd of probably around about 200 buffalo, which was really cool to see. And we sat there for a while just watching them do their thing and interact with each other. Luckily we had Henry with us, who'd spent quite a bit of time in Kruger up to this point, so he knew all the interesting roads to take and all the places to see. Is it? I love it.
Hello.
It was at this point that I realized the mistake that I was making with regards to the shaky footage. I had completely forgotten that the lens I was using actually had a button to stabilize the image. So yeah, very silly mistake on my end, and yeah, the footage definitely gets a bit better from here. Now, there are a couple of spots in Kruger where you're actually allowed to get out of your vehicle and have a walk around, but you must just always remember it's still quite dangerous. There might be dangerous game around, so be aware of your surroundings pretty much at all time. We got to one of those points, we had a quick look around. There wasn't too much to see, so we got back in the car and kept on going.
Ja, alsjeblieft. Oops.
And after driving for a little bit, this happened.
U het net nie leeu's gesien. Wat ek nie kyk nie. It's very dangerous.
And just like that, our first leopard sighting was over. It happened so quick. It was a pretty surreal experience, but it was truly amazing. I mean, we were the only car there. Something which I was going to learn later on was quite a lucky thing to happen to you in Kruger. Was die vlakvark? And after that, we started making our way to our first rest camp, as the sun was going down and we were all pretty tired.
Where? This is the whole Kruger. We basically did this.
I didn't really know what I was expecting at the camps, but needless to say, my mind was blown away about the size of the shops and the fact that there were actual franchised restaurants in these places. I find it all very weird, but I guess I was very naive on this. So for our stay at Pretorius Kop, we had booked a 1-room, 4-bed little rondavel with an ensuite bathroom. It was very simple, but it's pretty much all you need. I mean, you're only going to really sleep there, especially for what we had planned. And a long multi-plug is definitely an essential thing to bring with, as there's not always a lot of plug space, and the plugs can also be in weird spots to charge all your devices, so just keep that in mind. And for our first night, we were just frying ribs and a potato bake. Very simple. But somehow we made a really weird mistake and we lost our plates somehow somewhere in the car. We're still convinced they're somewhere in the car. So we had to reverse to using Tupperware lids and cutting boards. And then we settled in for the night. We were only going to be spending one night at Pretorius Kop and we were going to have an early start the next morning. So for day 2's mission, we were on our way to Skukuza, which is probably Kruger's biggest rest camp, and we were going to be spending 2 nights there.
Warbler. It's a groen op sy vlerk. Beste van die wêreld.
Just like, yeah, I don't know. Is the podcast called?
Die Europese is die purple breasted. Ag nee.
Nee,
Holistic. Jy kan sien met die kameras.
Perfect.
just tell me where you can move.
Elephant, if you could just push over this little bush in front of you. So that... No, that's a tree.
Die groen plant wat van overval.
This is cool.
Chris, hy kill hom op sy maagie. Kyk al.
Ek sien, ja.
You would never be able to have one of those on you.
Hy spring net.
Hy spring letterlik. En nou is daar 2 op daai een.
Ja. Ek moet dra ek nie nou dit.
So, one of the cool things about giraffes, them being the largest ruminant on Earth, and with their necks being so big and long, you can actually see when they swallow their food and when they regurgitate their food as well, for it to come back for them to re-chew it. And we spent some time checking out this guy just to see if he would do it, and we were lucky we could actually see it. So something we saw quite a bit of while we were in Kruger was there were a lot of fires and a lot of smoldering logs. And the cool thing is fire actually plays a really important ecological role in savannas. If there's too much fire, the biome will turn into a grassland. If there's not enough fire, then the savanna will become very woody, and that will directly affect the type of species of game that you'll find in there. So it's very cool to see how it affects that.
There's lank oxpeckers on them. Sorry, sir. It's the hair.
The raw end of the deal.
Then we stopped for lunch at the Lake Panic Bushhide, and once again we got quite lucky with our sightings. Thank you.
May I have one? Yeah.
So Skukuza was quite close by, so we decided to explore the surrounding area a little bit more. And we came across a herd of elephant close to a bridge, and while we were watching them, another herd of elephant came up behind us, and there were cars blocking our way on the bridge, so that put us in a bit of a sticky situation.
Where they're gonna walk. Maybe just give them some space, yeah.
Ek wil net tussen die ma en die
Ja,
Yeah, so
read the body language. Hulle gaan net agter ons volg.
now that person is surrender, so we can't go past.
Storm van daai. Well done, Amy. Handled well.
Look, I'm talking. I'll get back for.
I smell you.
If it made it.
He's sniffing.
It's so fun.
They also rest their trunks. Eh?
Oh, is it?
Yeah. But usually it's for smelling.
Raining.
Then we made our way towards Skukuza to check in, but before we went to our accommodation, we took a walk around and got some snacks.
Work.
Yeah.
It does work.
I said to Mariette when I came from that side, I thought it was being attacked by an octopus because it had all the all the twirlies.
And at Skukuza, it was the same story. I was just absolutely blown away by the amount of infrastructure that was there. And for our accommodation in Skukuza, we were going to be staying at a tented camp, very simple, with 4 beds and a fridge and a fan, which is very important the one day. And the bathroom and kitchen amenities weren't far either. Now, in the national park, you're not allowed to be outside of the rest camps during specific hours of the day. But luckily for us, Henry and Mariette had surprised us with our first sunset drive, and we were really excited about the prospect of seeing some nocturnal animals. And we were very excited at the prospect of seeing some nocturnal animals.
So they are browsers.
After about half an hour into the drive, we got information from a car passing by that there was an interesting sighting up ahead. And based on all the cars parked there, we knew it was going to be something good.
No, I'm going to look for it now.
Is weer dat
So you'll see like something moving in that tree. The leopard is in that tree. So just
and he just moved the carcass.
you now see it's an binocular, so you use
It's
that
not a
for
normal
focus,
leopard
right?
tree.
So if it's out of focus, just and then you can bend it just
He dropped it.
Okay.
He dropped it. Do you want to? African fish eagle.
Die boonste een is 'n juvenile.
Yeah, I think so. It's a civet.
Civet. So they're going to that gap now.
He is not working.
He's nighttime. He just woke
After a very exciting night drive, we settled in for the night with some dinner, just some simple sandwiches, and we just spent some time winding down after a very long, exciting day.
It's no problem. We can share a plate like this. That sounds good. Oh, no, I cut the bread wrong. I can eat the wrong cut.
The next morning, as always, we started off quite early and got our hot water ready for the rest of the day, so we could have tea and coffee whenever we needed. And I just wanted to show you the kitchen area. It's very simple. It's got a couple of stove tops and on-demand water boiler and also ample washing up space. And there's quite a few of them spaced out around the campsite. We decided to start our day off at Lake Panic. There was something very special about that site. We really enjoyed it there, and we felt we got really good sightings there, so we decided to go back.
It's a nice leafy plant.
Oh my days. It's the ears for me.
Flylery.
They're
all
with the
looking.
kyfie.
Dis 'n Klipspringer.
Hi. You can jump in the car if you're scared.
We shall protect you.
Nee, ons het niks gesien daar nie. Ja, ons
Mooi daar. Are you getting it? No.
You can do it, friend, one more time. Third time's the charm. He looks so disheveled now.
Come on. Got it, buddy. There's no reason they call you the king.
Marietta, hype woman. Come on, one more time.
Wanneer doen laat training?
The last melon.
fucking ou.
See, I'm not gonna lie, Mariette. I don't love
This
him.
Why?
I don't have a lot to negative to say about him, but I don't have a lot of positives either.
It was at this point that the beauty of the low felt at Kruger was really having an impact on me. It's just something special about the place, and you kind of really understand why people have such amazing experiences here.
Twee van hulle.
Ja, twee Klipspringers. Een redelike groot en een klein een. Oep. The day had slowed down quite a bit in terms of sightings, so we decided to head back to Skukuza, have lunch there, have a nap, and then keep going. Well, I mean, some of us were already having a nap. But I guess that's the thing about Kruger. Just as you think there's nothing going on, it throws a completely random sighting your way.
Is that a snake? Please tell me you have that.
Yeah, I'll get it. And when we got back to camp, we just chilled, read, had some lunch. We were very thankful for that fan because it was a game changer. It was really hot. And then we went back out again.
Soms sal dalk mense so op.
Is that what it's called? A slurp?
Ja.
My friend Fons is a slurp. Yeah, well, my by not.
Jy daai kleintjie daar tussen hulle.
We're splitting. Jy kyk jy gaan rol uit.
Oh. Ek het net geweet die maat gebruik word om die te sagte te doen.
Ja, dis ons parasite. Oh, the grass is so pretty.
Dat is pretty cool. Dat zijn 4 vultures. Kijk al door zeg maar.
And just the same as these vultures in this tree, we were also getting ready to settle down for the night. But just before we went to bed, we went out and tried the Kruger station restaurant, which was actually really nice. The food was really good. And then we got into bed and looked at some of the animals we've seen over the last couple of days, and then got ready for the next day. Now at this point, we'd pretty much gotten our routine waxed. We woke up early, got ready with some tea and coffee, and then once again made our way over to Lake Panic to see what was going on there. Now, there wasn't much going on at Lake Panic, so we decided to move on. And the plan for the rest of the day was to slowly make our way to the Tamboti rest camp, where we were going to be spending 2 nights.
After we couldn't get a crocodile snitcher last night.
Now, Jesse and I studied at the same university, and on this university we had a couple of troops of baboons, and it was one of our favorite things to do, to go and sit and actually watch these baboons, and it's always been one of our favorite things to do.
Ik ben niet gegapt. Did you get it?
Tannen. Messen. Wow, parkour. Parkour. Oh, parkour. Oh.
I'm an introvert, guys.
Buddy, where are you going?
I am you're his beautiful boy.
Now, I'd seen sable quite a few times before, but I don't think I've ever seen them in a national park. And also, I didn't know that seeing sable in Kruger is quite rare, so that made this sighting all the more special.
Hulle lyk nie soos regte diere nie. Dit as 'n malpersoon.
Maar net hoe is as 'n persoon.
And there is nothing you can do about it.
Also has a little one. Sit jy maar toe dit. Daai dammetjie.
Ja.
Kom.
Ek weet nie of ek dit sien nie. Ah, sal ek maar net aan.
Ja, ons kom maar die pad.
En dan die leeupan, maybe is daar loose.
Dit is verskil.
Here we stopped at the Chokwan picnic site for lunch. Overall, the food wasn't anything to write home about. And once again, the birds were super intense. Now, I'm sounding overly negative about these picnic spots, but they do look like a fun place for people, especially with kids, to stop and just have the kids run around a bit and work out a little bit of energy, because I can only imagine that must be a whole thing on its own. Another unfortunate thing about this picnic site is there was a lot of rubbish lying around. And I don't know if it's a case of people just not caring and throwing the rubbish on the ground or animals getting into the bins, but it's something I hope they do sort out in the future. So a little bit up the road from Chokwan, there was a massive traffic jam. And we didn't know this, but we were going to add a new animal to our list.
Can you, Jan? Can you get him on video?
It's in the clearing.
Okay, you'll see the male coming through now.
Yeah, he looks a bit sick.
Yeah, just go a bit forward and look back.
He's in the clearing.
There he is.
He's quite far back now.
Ja, is about here.
Ja, hy lyk nie great.
Hy's super maar ook.
Even though he was definitely not in his prime, we were still very stoked to have seen a lion. It was something that you see quite often in Kruger, and we were quite concerned that we weren't going to see one, especially after spending the entire 3 days on the road in Kruger. Afterwards, we had to navigate all the traffic, and then we made our way to Orpendam, which is hands down my favorite place in Kruger that we visited. If I was going to live in the national park, I would choose this boma, 100%.
Under the tree. No, there's a baby lion under the
Also die legen, glaube ich, auch schon ordentlich Strecke zurück. Okay. Wenn sie was da haben. Alles stimmt.
I don't know what it was about it, but it was just a really special spot. A combination of the animals and the river. It just felt very peaceful. So we got back in the car thinking, how could it get better than this? And first off, we were treated to this really cool fish eagle just chilling in its nest. And then after that, we got really lucky again. And I mean, damn, this day would just not stop giving. I didn't completely realize how lucky we were at this point. I mean, we'd seen 3 leopards in 4 days in Kruger. Some people spend a week in Kruger and they don't even see one. But needless to say, we were having a pretty good day. Now, while we were driving on to our next rest camp, we drove past what is apparently the most southern naturally occurring baobab tree. Now these trees are very cool and they can grow in very interesting formations. And the other cool story I heard about them once is that they are also referred to as the upside down tree. Now this name comes from the Bushmen. Now they believed that their creator gave each and every animal a tree to plant. And the hyena was the last one to receive a tree, and he received the baobab. And he was so upset by this fact that he ended up planting the tree upside down. Now, to be honest, to me, it doesn't really look like an upside down tree, but it's a cool story anyways.
Hoe de oud is hy?
Now, we still had quite far to travel and we had to get to our next rest camp by 5 p.m. So we were rushing to get there. But, you know, as Kruger does, it decided to throw something else our way.
Ongelukkig is dit. Wat lees van dit?
En ik die wel echt een klein Where's your boyfriend? Back in lesbian bitches. Let's go in the vlog.
Thanks, guys.
Why is like a bit more on?
Nee, die proper mannetjie doen agter. Wel, die ene wat heel links was.
Wow.
So skyn sy regs bo haar.
That's a bit more.
Sien jy sy gesig?
Ja. Net moeder beter.
Ja.
Waar staan sy nou op?
Wat so hy trap aan.
Okay, your turn, big guy.
He's back down.
Yeah, the other side was more exciting.
Yeah. Much more to look at. Them drinking water was pretty.
Good.
But nou is dit net hy wat oor is.
Are we gonna try and
You guys smiling.
Obviously, we're getting our photo taken.
So we were getting pretty close to our rest camp. We first had to deal with a little bit of Africa traffic. But now the rest camp we were going to be staying at tonight, Tamboti, doesn't actually have its own reception, so we had to go to a different rest camp. Check in there, get the keys, tell them that we were there, and then drive a little bit further along to actually get to where we were staying that night. Now, at all the rest camps, you get these sighting boards that give people access to these little magnets that they can put on the map to show them where they saw what. To be honest, don't know how accurate it is, and will probably just make you feel bad for maybe missing a sighting. I don't know. We mostly found all of our sightings either just by luck or with speaking to people on the road. People tend to be actually quite friendly on the road. Always want to help and point out cool things.
Vier of 135
Ek dink my sussie het spesifiek want sy kon kies wat
Now, Tamboti was quite different than all the other rest camps we were going to stay at. This one was just tented camps with some facilities, kitchens, bathrooms, etc., but a lot more rustic. And I really liked that. It didn't really feel like a, you know, like a holiday resort or something like that.
Well, it has to be. Die enigste
Buckle up.
We don't have to go anywhere in the morning.
Yeah.
We can literally just sit there.
Would have been cool if there was water.
Holy shit, man, this is amazing. So this tent's very similar to the one we stayed at in Skukuza. Just one big room, 4 beds. Only difference is we had a little bit of a private deck outside and then a really amazing view of this dry riverbed.
somewhere. Wish me luck.
Nice.
Oh, there's even outside lights.
And there was the end to another amazing day. We just spent some time relaxing and lit the fire for the braai we were going to have a little bit later in the evening. And we were lucky enough to be treated to a lioness and a couple of her cubs that walked past in the riverbed, which was really special. And then we heard our neighbors from the tent next to us call us over. And there was a spotted hyena patrolling the fence, looking for a bone it had buried. And when it found the bone finally, it started biting and absolutely just crunching this bone. And it just gave you a real appreciation for how strong its jaws are, which is really scary actually.
Digging. I think he found a bone.
Do you really think he buried a bone?
I think so.
That's the most dog thing I've ever seen a wild animal do.
Ja, dis so cool. Dat hy weggesteek het.
Does that look like a bone?
Ja, it's definitely a bone. You can stand here in front of me.
Well, stand here where I'm standing. Just be careful of the fence.
And Pretoria.
I live in Horties.
And Horties, okay, that's
Oh, wow.
closer.
And that awesome sighting rounded off day number 4 for us. We still couldn't believe how lucky we've been up until this point, and we didn't really know what to expect for the rest of the time we were going to be here, but we were really excited. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let us know in the comments what was your favorite part. Look out for part 2. See you next time.